Hi everyone, in this lecture we're going to be discussing the array lists and objects. So we're going to use the student class as an example. As you can see here, we have a student class with three attributes: name, number of absences, and final grade. We have the constructor. We have the accessor methods that returns these variables, and the modifier method that changes the values. And then we created a second class called classroom. I already created the array list of type students, as you can see, and I added some student objects with different information. Now let's create some methods. Let's say the first method that returns the number of failing students. So we're going to have public, static, integer, failing students. Accept an array list of type students. I'm going to call it R. So I need a variable to keep track of the failing students. So I'm going to use the enhanced loop for students s colon r if s that, and then we're going to get grade. So if get grade is less than 70, then we should increment the variable and then return it. Return counts. Okay, so let's call this method to make sure it's working. So I'm going to go all the way right here and then call the method. So failing students, and then we're going to use this array list that we created here as an example. So here, let's see how many students are failing. We have 60 and 67, so it should return 2. We have only 2 students failing. Okay, so it looks like it's working. Okay, next method, let's say that returns the name of the student with the highest grade. So I'm going to put public static string, so that's the name, and I'm going to put high grade students. And let's accept an array list of students. So here I need 2 variables, one to keep track of the highest grade, so high grade. So I'm going to assume the first one is, I can put 0, you can't get a negative grade. And then also another variable that keeps track of the name of the student with the highest grade. So I'm going to call it high N. So I can put no, or I can assume the first one is, let me put no. So here I'm going to use the loop, enhanced loop, student s r. So if s that get grade is higher than high G, then 2 things will happen. I have to save the highest grade, so high G equals s that get grade. At the same time, I need to make sure I save the name as well. S that gets name. At the end, I will display the name. Return high N. Okay, so let's check if there is an error here. Okay, that's good. Now let me call the method, make sure it is working. So system out print line, high grade students, and I'm going to use lists, some arguments. So it should display David, because David, he got the highest grade. So let's see here, and sure enough, we got David as the highest grade. All right, so let's create another method. Let's say method that returns the list of students whose name starts with B or M. For whatever reason, let's say we want to focus only on the student. For whatever reason, we want to put all the names that start with B or M in one list. So I'm going to put public static, and then the return type is array list string names, and I'm going to put B or M students. I need a variable, or I need an array list, because I'm returning an array list. I need to create one. So of course it's going to be empty. So I'm going to put string. I'm going to call it B or M students. New array list of type string. So I have the array list ready, and I'm going to use the loop searching for the students. So I'm going to use and loop as well. SR. So here I'm going to check the name. So if s.getName. Now getName, I need to focus on the first character, so char at 0. So if char at 0 is equal to M, or and I'm going to repeat this statement using P. So copy here. So M or B, or you can use substring 0, 1. So if these conditions, one of these two conditions is true, then I will add the name to the array list I created. So I'm going to put B or students that add s.getName. And then once I'm finished with all the students, then I'm going to return the array list. Check if there's any error. Okay, now let me call the method and then check if it's working. So the name is B or, so I have the method here. It accepts array list. So it should return an array list of the names. Now, before I run the program, let's check how many students we have in that list. So it starts with M. So we have Monica, Maria, Bob, and Billy. So we have 4 students. So let's run the program and see if we have these students in the list. So it shows only Monica and Maria. So what is B? Maybe I did not change. I made a mistake here. Oh, I put B lowercase. I have to make sure it's B uppercase. And then try again. And sure enough, we got all the 4 students in there. Okay, so now let me add another method that returns the list of students who are exempt. Now, to be exempt from checking the final, you have to meet 2 conditions. You have to have 0 number of absences, and then you have to have A. You have to get A. That means 90 or above. So let's put the method, the public static, also return type is array list. We're going to call it exempt students. So array list students are. So one more time, we need to create an array list, an empty one of type string, because we're going to put the name of students in there, and we're going to call them exempt. New array list string. Okay, semicolon here, and then we're going to use the loop searching for these students. So I'm going to put student SR. Two conditions here. So if s dot get grade, absences first. So get absences should be 0 equals to 0, no absences, and not or, and, because these two conditions have to be met. And s dot get grade is higher or equal than 90. So if that's the case, then I will add the name of the student. So I'm going to put add s dot get name. And then you're going to return the name, return exam. So check for errors, no errors, and then we're going to call the method exam students, and then we're going to put lists as an argument, and then zero. Before we check list, look at the list and see how many students will be exams. So David will be one of them because he has 0 absences and has A. Maria, she met only one condition, but she didn't get A. Billy is satisfying 2. Katie is satisfying only one condition. So we have only two students who qualify or are exempt. So David and Billy. Okay. So now the last method we're going to remove. Let's say there is a policy in school or for the classroom that removes, let's say it's an AP class or GT class, whatever reason. And then the policy says if the student has more than 3 absences, he will be removed from the class and will move to another class. So a method that removes students who exceed 3 absences. Have 3. More than 3. I mean, if you have 3, that's okay. But if you have more than 3, like 4 and more, then you have to be removed. So I'm going to put public static. It's void. We're just going to remove the students. So remove students. So we're going to go through the array list. So student, let's use the regular one, I equals 0. As I said before, whenever you are removing and from ArrayList, it is always safer to start from the end because of the shifting issue that we talked about. So start from the end. So starting from 0 to size -1, we're going to go backwards. So we're going to have R size. So this way you don't miss any element. I higher or equal than 0, I minus minus. So what's the condition? So the condition, if R that get I that get absences is higher than 3, then it should be removed. So that means R remove I. The student will be removed. Okay, now you don't have to return anything. So let's check. So now what we're going to do, so let's look at the example. So is there any students who will be removed? Yes, we have Carlos, he has 4 absences, and John, okay? So 2 of them. So now let's call the method first, remove student, and then we're going to display the array list after that to see if the 2 students are removed. Okay. So run the program. So let's see, we have Tim, we have AB, David, Monica, Maria, Bob, Billy, Katie. So it looks like the Carlos and John are not there anymore, so they were removed. So this is how you work with objects and ArrayList. I hope you found this lecture useful and helpful. So see you in the next lecture.